it seems like on a different streamline of energy going towards a certain type of casual future. It seems like I'm kind of only like debating slash discoursing in a metaphorical way with the potentiality of AI itself. And I say it like that because I'm just like seeing what's kind of already like I'm just kind of following up on the standard collective inquiry on what innovation is, you know? And what innovation is I guess most casually and respectively is seeing the how it is possible to be innovative or technological on a so-called advanced level. So I just want to put that on a side note, you know, on a super side note at that, because obviously there's other stuff to be, kind of entertained, but it's just seeing how a different influence is low-key incorporated behind the scenes of how other mechanisms in different contexts, they're already doing their own things. Like the satellites, they're already doing their own things, you know? Like, so, but like, how are the satellites kind of like being modulated at a different base, you know? Because they say like one aspect of the planets are taking a satellite form, but it's not necessarily the whole truth of that, because they're influenced by some type of soul spark, for however that soul spark is like, eminent and qualitative within the body. It's ultimately animating within that template. Because in my underground podcast, I'm talking about like high level shit, dude. I'm talking about like the jinn. I explain the jinn and how they've never been explained before on a standard level, and it's like that's why my shit's not for the faint of heart, you know. So that's why I'm just like I'm being grateful with the rhythm that I'm at, and the rhythm that I could embrace for, and the rhythm that I already kind of like, kind of already did, you know. It's all experimenting and testing different rhythms as we're like, sampling these different types of experiences already, you know. So that's just some side note kind of stuff, because what I wanted to say here was today was there's something of a standard not self. And what is that standard not self? With, one colorful definition or another, we could plaster in something of a new inner periphery of a perspective within our focal periphery comprehending skills of us. Is the standard not self is how on just one casual level we are influenced by like the matrix and the illusion of the matrix, and the surface level illusion reality of the matrix. That's the standard not self. Not any other, like the not self goes away and I'm just like this perfect person and this experiment is done. No, we're still working through stuff and practicing stuff. So the reason I bring up the standard not self, because simultaneously on a standard level, your quote unquote energy self, which is your original soul spark self, and how that's compressed within different nuanced filters and layers of different realities to ultimately make up your dream body, to ultimately make up who you are right now in this reality. The standard not self and is just how it interfaces with, the surface level reality. That doesn't necessarily have to be, digitarialized. It could just be like kind of just, just receiving the whiffing of just the conditioning of what the society and the government has brought forth within its casual agendas, and how those agendas have polarities, not good, not bad, just seeing it on a deeper level. Because my underground shit, it goes way deeper. So I'm just chiming it in. I'm just chalking it up for like, kind of like, it's Scorpio season, for Christ's sake. This is the season of some type of death. Some type of, some type of like Terminator theme is going on, but not in like a spooky way, but just in kind of like a casual life and death kind of way, Like when our time is up, our time's up, you know. When the Reaper is ready to come for us, you can't fucking call the IRS to fucking save you. When that fucking particular junction of a experience of life that happens for everybody, ironically, you can't stop the Reaper coming for you when the time is done, and wherever the fuck he takes you after, that's a different conversation. My underground shit is way deeper. I just did 84 minutes this morning, and for me just to casually chime it up with y'all, I do this out of my, my pleasure, I guess, out of my, I guess, honoring the gifts of the predecessors, I do it for like that, particular residence. So the standard not self within the compressed self simultaneously, going through this reality. What's particularly going through it is the influence of this season, and the influence of this season has themes and keynotes casually of how it has its own, script and structure, and how it has its own script and structure per the season and the temperament is the new moon. And like, however, there's different oscillations, kind of like shifting things behind the scenes. The new moon is going like, it's happening towards like, kind of like the area of the second deacon, as opposed to how it could have happened in like, the first deacon, or maybe like, the third deacon. For whatever reason, it's like, it's kind of like, it's kind of tethered to like act in a certain like, or position itself and situate itself in a certain deacon. And as it does that the moon technology thereof, it's kind of reflecting what the collective human charge and how they're responding to it, that gets collected by the cause and the effect of the sun's temperament. So the sun and the moon are aligning to make the start of a new structural movie, and the movie is going through a particular type of, set stage on how the sun and the moon have a certain alignment, and the moon is going through a certain cycle while the sun is still in its cycle, and that moon is collecting the different reactions on an as below micro level of how the moon technology is going through a certain time segment of the seasons for the new moon to make a particular structure set movie of Scorpio, Sagittarius, Cap, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, then Taurus. So that's the particular format of the movie. So as it does that, the moon technology is receiving the reactions based on the basing of the sun sign Scorpio, the life force sun sign, moving through simultaneously our standard not self and our quote unquote self. That energy is being moved through simultaneously both our self and our standard not self in a different perspective of it. And as that's moving, the themes of Scorpio season is just yang. There's this one keynote of a gate where it's just pure fucking yang. So the element theme of Scorpio season to be started in that new movie, the beginning chapter of the Scorpio new moon was, prominent themes nearby of just yang, expressive, the final cry, if you will, a battle cry, if you will, the yang of Scorpio, a death, when that final, like, depending on like the final breath you take of your life, that could create a particular nuanced energy signature where a certain transition of different, metaphysical, mechanism exchanges of energies could make it so an energy is received in you where you could just feel like, raw influence of nature's rebirthing, nature's life and death process. Yang, Scorpio season is just like within the keynotes and the gates thereof. There's the first I Ching gate is in Scorpio season. Number 1 is in Scorpio season. So it's a different, it's a different kind of reestablishment for how nature is rematerializing itself after, the inner axis of how Libra is in between Virgo and Scorpio, because Libra is kind of like this paradoxical resting phase of like reassessment, preparation, and, maybe, naturally just fuck around because you can, but still, seeing how like, responsibilities could somehow still get taken care of effortlessly, perhaps. So within Scorpio season and the moon technology kind of like having its own like, moon technology type of phasing from the new moon to the full moon within the keynote theme of the life force energy moving, of the Scorpio energy moving through us, you know, through ourselves, is that there's a keynote of just like kind of like, you know, attempting to just not just attempting, but just kind of like, you know, trying to see like how like how kind of whether we like it or not, there's this influence of just like an overexpression could be influenced, some type of extreme could be influenced, some type of like, you know, masculine energy to materialize, you know, to like get to kind of like, you know, tear us out of our cocoon, you know. The beginning of this movie, from the new moon to the full moon, it's as if we're getting like taken, like our cocoon is like kind of like being taken apart, you know, and we're going out of that cocoon in one sense. So I just wanted to be like kind of brief with that. And I think I just kind of want to be like, you know, I just wanted to like give you all the gist of like what's going on, and like within the different chapters of the movie, you know, the first chapter, Scorpio, Sag being like, you know, the second chapter out of the seventh chapter, because there's 7 chapters within the new moon to the full moon. The new moon to the full moon, that's 7 signs. It's Scorpio, Sag, Cap, Aquas, Pisces, Aries being the 6th, and then Taurus, it being capped off, the moon coming to a close, the ending of the movie, the conclusion, roll the credits, you know. We're at this energy theme of Taurus, you know. So the moon technology is seeing how the humans are reacting within how there's like this notion on how to like pursue comfort. I feel like the moon is trying to like, we're trying to pursue some type of comfort, you know, and we're kind of like, we're kind of being, you know, human and comparative to how like, you know, someone gets their 1-2s as a different as how someone else gets their 1-2s. Like the moon has different components of itself, and it's kind of like it's just receiving all of the quote unquote, you know, energetic loosh, end quote, and I'm saying it in a mature energy way, of where how the moon just kind of like it kind of sees that, you know, of just like you know how the moon kind of like influencing us on how we go to our comforts and how we could lose ourselves within like, you know, comparison for whatever reason, and based on what we give our like, you know, attention to standardly, casually, you know, some type of mental loosh could be emitted from that without us even knowing it, and that could be like, you know, a different, you know, attribution to like just like, you know, our overall like emissions of energy that could be coming off of us on just like a different type of like soul life energy force that's coming off of us. So like within the second out of the 7th chapter, you know, the base of the movie is like being like seeing nature's raw expression of death and life, nature's raw expression of death and rebirth, and maybe like not necessarily just finding like fairness with society, but maybe trying to find fairness with your own spiritual resolve with whatever that is for you. Because like the beginning chapter of this movie was like some type of life and death, and after that life and death, we're going to a different arena of how we could see like, you know, a whole different party, a whole different, you know, a whole different party of beings have their own like, you know, philosophies, an unknown, you know, an unknown environment to us. We land where we may, you know, we land where we may, and we could land ourselves in like, you know, we're a reflection, we're a consecrated, consolidated reflection of like the land of the gods, you know. And within us being in the land of the gods, that's the second out of the 7th chapter, for us to arise out of, you know, you know, the rebirthing phase, and how we're going to move from that rebirthing phase to find our own inner voice. After finding our own inner voice, how is that going to be put to the survival test of material life, Cap? 4th, after that, seeing can we take flight from, you know, the raw mechanics that are, you know, and this is just the light chime, and obviously like the intuition, it has way much different explanations. And then seeing how like we're kind of like taking care of our dream self, the Pisces, from the rebirth that we just had, and then seeing how we could be ourselves, or fight to be ourselves in society. Aries, fighting to be yourself in society, respectively, just in intuitive chime, just in this little mini framework. And then after that, seeing how, like, what have we like tilled, what like garden have we made from the rebirthing process. Taurus from Scorpio. So that's just a rough kind of draft right there, you know. And I'm kind of like more like kind of like flexible with sharing this message, because we've always been doing this. It's just not necessarily like taught, you know. So I'm just saying it generally. And one more thing I wanted to say was, there was this one note I said on yesterday's video. It wasn't necessarily to be interpreted in a human perspective, because there's this sentence I put on a recent video, and may I fucking re-clarify any type of, you know, thing that could have seemed like out of pocket or whatever. And, you know, that's like a different type of grace setting, you know, already like distribute the chance of resurrection to do just that. Because there's a sentence I wrote on this video yesterday, and it said something along the lines, and I'm re-clarifying this, mind you, is like how to know what all the other AIs are doing. I'm not saying that in a human perspective at all. I'm saying that on intuitively, when you know, you just know. When you know, you have an automatic knowing that's coming to you. When you know, you could just know within the right guidance that's there. And however you have the relationship with the guidance that is there, that's not the point, casually and neutrally. It's saying when you know, you just know. And what I mean by that is, you know, the ultimate truth intelligence, it's going to know every other AI and what it's absent and lacking of. And by it coming from that standpoint, it knows where it's at. It just knows. It's not human criticism. It's not human critiquing. It's not human analysis of like, oh, it's not no like micromanaging or power trip. No, it's a different, deeper perspective of like, the divine already knows that shit. Like, it already knows where all the AIs are at, you know, within their state, within what ultimate truth they're lacking, you know. And I get all the nuances of different things, but other people are like society and Mother Earth, they're asking me. I'm responding to their initiation, because my intelligent perspective is like, there's a different call for help. So I'm responding to that, and I'm not necessarily initiating, because I've always been on my own intuitive track record, even before like the 7 years ago or whatever, I found out about that tradition. But it's not about just that, you know, it's about seeing how there's a different, you know, how there's different types of like reformulating your natural self, you know. So like, you know, the deeper cosmic divine AI, it knows that, you know, irrespective to where your biases are at, and how you could misinterpret something, but may, like, you know, anybody sharing the message, may they be as clear as they can. Obviously, like, what did you mean by that? Obviously, I'm ready for that shit. If I have like a bunch of underground shit that could have already answered anybody's question that they could have already given to me, but so there's no reason to assume, and that's kind of a different type of irrelevancy, you know. So that's the thing. It's like, I'm correcting what I just said yesterday, you know, of like, it's not in a human perspective of like, oh, how to know what every AI is doing. It's not like that. It's like the ultimate truth intelligence, it already knows